You're not exhausted because you're weak. You're exhausted because you've been carrying invisible weight for a long time. And once you start putting that weight down, slowly, intentionally, something shifts. Your nervous system gets the message. I don't have to manage everything to be safe. And when that message lands, energy returns, clarity sharpens, and rest actually works again. Welcome to the Personal Mastery and Growth Podcast, where we explore the keys to unlocking your full potential and living your best life. I'm your host, Jose Johnson. Whether you're looking to make a breakthrough, overcome a challenge, or simply live with greater clarity, joy, and purpose, you'll find the tools and inspirations you need right here. So let's start your journey towards personal mastery and growth right now. Welcome back to the Personal Mastery and Growth Podcast, your go-to resource for practical tips, insightful research, and inspiring stories to help you unlock your full potential. I'm your host, Jose Johnson, and I'm an expert in the fields of mindfulness, mindset, and peak performance, and I'm so excited to have you here with me today. Now, over the last few episodes, we've talked about stress, environment, and boundaries. Now, today, we're going to go one layer deeper, because even after you understand stress, even after you start setting better boundaries, many people still feel exhausted, and they don't know why. So let me describe it kind of tired and see if it sounds familiar. You're not overworked in the traditional sense. Your calendar isn't overflowing. You might even be getting decent sleep. And yet you wake up already bracing for the day. You feel drained after conversations that shouldn't be draining. You rest, but you don't feel rested. Now, this isn't physical fatigue. It's energetic depletion. And most people don't recognize it because the work that causes it is invisible. This is an energy leak. Now, an energy leak isn't about doing too much. It's about carrying too much internally. Energy leaks happen when effort continues after the task is done, when your body has stopped moving, but your nervous system hasn't stopped working. Now, some examples might be replaying conversations long after they're over, mentally preparing for outcomes that haven't happened yet, monitoring other people's moods, feeling responsible for how situations land emotionally. Now, nothing dramatic is happening. There's no emergency, just a steady, quiet drain. So why is this kind of fatigue hard to name? Well, most people are taught to measure effort by action. What did you do? How much did you get done? How busy were you? But energetic effort doesn't show up on a to-do list. You don't get credit for thinking ahead, smoothing tension, preventing conflict, absorbing emotional weight. And because it's invisible, people often assume, I shouldn't be this tired. That assumption creates self-judgment. And self-judgment adds another layer of drain. And here's an important pattern to name. The people who leak the most energy are rarely the weakest. They're usually highly capable, dependable, emotionally intelligent, good under pressure. They notice things others don't. They anticipate needs. They sense shifts in tone. They step in before things fall apart. Now, at first, this feels like competence. Over time, it becomes unspoken responsibility. Not because anyone asks, but because you can. So let's put some simple language to this. Emotional labor is the effort of keeping things emotionally stable. It looks like managing tension in a room, choosing your words carefully to avoid reactions, adjusting yourself so others stay comfortable, staying calm so things don't escalate. Now, this kind of labor keeps systems running, families, teams, relationships. But here's the cost. Your nervous system stays engaged even when nothing is happening. It never gets to stand down. So let's take one step deeper because this is where a lot of confusion lives. From a nervous system perspective, thinking is not neutral. Your brain evolved to help you to survive, not to make you comfortable. When you're mentally tracking outcomes, even quietly, your nervous system interprets that as unfinished business. And unfinished business keeps the system alert. So here's the key point that most people miss. Your nervous system does not distinguish between something that is happening and something that might happen and something that already happened but hasn't been emotionally resolved. If you're rehearsing, anticipating, or replying, the system stays engaged. That's because the brain's primary job is prediction. It's constantly asking, what's next? What do I need to prepare for? What could go wrong? And when those questions stay active, your body stays mobilized, even if you're sitting still, even if nothing is wrong right now. This is why people can feel exhausted after a day that looked easy on paper. The work wasn't physical, it was neurobiological. Your system was bracing, tracking, and preparing all day long. And here's the exhausting part. Because this kind of activation is low-grade and constant, it doesn't trigger alarms. It just quietly drains capacity. You don't crash, you fade. And this is why rest alone often doesn't work. Sure, you can lie down. You can take time off. You can unplug. But if your mind is still tracking, anticipating, rehearsing, managing, your system never actually recovers. Now, this is why some people come back from vacation and feel depleted within days. Nothing changed internally. The load, it was there waiting. Now, this is where this episode builds directly on our last episode. You can set a boundary externally and still be leaking energy internally. You say no, but you worry about how it landed. You limit your time, but you replay the conversation. You protect your schedule, but you keep carrying emotional responsibility. The boundary's there, but the load didn't drop. That's because energy leaks often live behind boundaries. All right, so let's make this more tangible, because energy leaks are often easier to recognize after you hear them named. So here are a few everyday examples. You finish a conversation, but your mind keeps going. You play what you said. You imagine what they thought. You wonder if you should have said it differently. That's an energy leak. You agree to something and immediately start planning how to make it easier for everyone else. You think through contingencies. You prepare for reactions. You manage outcomes in advance. That's an energy leak. You sense tension in a room, and you automatically adjust yourself. You soften your tone. You choose your words carefully. You take responsibility for keeping things smooth. That's an energy leak. Now, none of these behaviors are wrong. In fact, many of them developed as adaptive skills. But when they become automatic, they quietly siphon energy away from you. The key patterns to notice is this. Energy leaks usually happen after the moment has passed. The interaction ends. The task is done. The decision's been made. But the nervous system keeps working. That's why the fatigue feels confusing. You're tired from what your body thinks is still unfinished, even though life has already moved on. And once you see this pattern, something important shifts. You stop asking, why am I so tired? And you start asking, what am I still carrying? And that question changes everything. So before we talk about how to plug energy leaks, we need to pause for a moment, because awareness comes before change. So in the second half of this episode, we're going to look at the most common types of energy leaks, how to identify which ones are yours, how to stop carrying invisible loads, and a 7-day energy protection practice that you can actually stick with. But for now, sit with this. You're not tired because you're weak. You're tired because you've been carrying things that were never meant to be carried alone. Before we get practical, we need to clear something up. If you have ever been told, just let it go, stop worrying, don't take it so personally, and felt like that advice completely missed the point, you're right. Energy leaks don't exist because you won't let go. They exist because your nervous system believes holding on is protective. Letting go without addressing that belief feels unsafe. So instead of forcing release, we're going to focus on reassigning responsibility. And that's the key. So let's talk about the 5 most common energy leaks. And we're going to name the usual suspects. As you listen, don't try to fix anything yet. Just notice what feels familiar. Number 1, emotional responsibility leaks. Now, this shows up when you feel responsible for other people's moods, their reactions, their comfort, their disappointment. You manage your tone. You soften the truth. You absorb tension. You tell yourself, I just don't want things to get uncomfortable. But comfort management is exhausting because it never ends. Number 2, anticipation leaks. Now, these leaks happen before anything occurs. You think through every possible outcome. You prepare responses in advance. You rehearse conversations repeatedly. Now, this often looks like being prepared, but internally, it's constant vigilance. Your system stays mobilized for events that may never happen. Number 3, after the fact leaks. Now, these happen after something is already over. You replay what you said. You critique your delivery. You imagine how it landed. The moment has passed, but the nervous system hasn't received that memo, so it keeps on working. Number 4, over-responsibility leaks. Now, these leaks come from carrying things that aren't actually yours. You take responsibility for outcomes that you don't control, for decisions other people need to make, for fixing situations that you didn't create. And this often happens because you're capable. But capability quietly turns into a burden. Number 5, availability leaks. Now, these leaks happen when you're never fully off. You're always reachable. You're responsible. You're always on deck. Even when nothing is happening, your nervous system is waiting. Waiting is work. So let's talk about why naming the leak matters. Your nervous system can't release what it can't identify. Once you name the leak, you stop moralizing it. You're no longer saying things like, what's wrong with me? You're saying, oh, that's where my energy's going. Clarity reduces the load, even before behavior changes. Now, here's a question that changes everything. Is this actually mine to carry? Not, can I handle this? Not, should I step in? But, is this my responsibility? Or am I managing something out of habit? This question interrupts automatic patterns. And interruption creates space for choice. Hey there, feeling stuck? Spinning your wheels? Are you ready for a breakthrough? Well, then you need to hear this because I've got something that will supercharge your growth this year, and it's called The Mindset Makeover. Now, it's my new book and course that are designed to help you upgrade the mental software that drives your success. And inside, you're going to discover the mindsets that shape every decision, every habit, and every result. And you'll learn the science-backed tools to rewire your thinking for clarity, confidence, and unstoppable momentum. So whether you're aiming higher, trying to break free from old patterns, or finally stepping into that version of yourself that you know that you're capable of becoming, well, this is your launch pad. So don't wait. Head over to josejohnson.com/mindset to grab the book, join the course, or get both together. Again, that's josejohnson.com/mindset. And remember, it is what it is, but it becomes what you make it. And with the mindset makeover, you can make it something extraordinary. All right, so let's slow this down and make it practical. This is not about fixing everything. It's not about becoming less caring. And it's definitely not about shutting down or disengaging. This is about identifying one place where your energy is quietly leaking and learning how to put just a little of that load down. So for the next 7 days, you're going to run a simple experiment. Not a lifestyle overhaul, not a personality change, just awareness followed by one small tolerable shift. Step 1, pick one energy leak category. For this week, choose one type of energy leak to work with: emotional responsibility, anticipation and mental rehearsal, after the fact replay, over responsibility, constant availability. Just one. If you try to track everything, you'll end up tracking nothing. Step 2, notice when it activates. As the week unfolds, simply notice: when does this pattern typically show up? What triggers it? What it feels like in your body. You're not trying to stop it yet. You're just becoming aware of the moment your nervous system picks something up. Awareness without judgment is already regulating. Step 3, ask the reassignment question. When you notice a pattern, pause and gently ask, is this actually mine to carry? Not, can I handle this? Not, should I step in? Just, is this my responsibility, or am I managing this out of habit? Now, that question alone often creates space, and space creates choice. Step 4, practice a tolerable release, not a total shutdown. Now, this step is not about disengaging or letting go completely. It's about ending the loop. When you notice an energy leak activating, choose one small release your nervous system can tolerate. Now, this might look like, if you're replaying a conversation, acknowledge it once, then gently redirect your attention instead of replaying it again and again. If you're rehearsing what you'll say, prepare once, then stop running the scenario mentally. If you're managing someone else's emotions, allow them to have their feelings without stepping in to fix or smooth them. If you feel responsible for an outcome, name what's actually yours and let the rest remain unresolved. You're not suppressing thoughts, you're closing the mental file. And this tells your nervous system, this is complete for now. I don't need to stay on alert. Step 5, observe the outcome without judging it. After you practice a small release, don't rush to evaluate whether you did it right. Instead, observe what actually happened. Pay attention to how your body felt afterwards, how quickly your energy recovers, what actually occurred in the situation or relationship, and whether the outcome matched what you feared would happen or whether your nervous system predicted something that never actually occurred. Now, this step is not about positive thinking. It's about updating your nervous system's expectations. Very often, people discover the situation didn't escalate. The relationship, it stayed intact. Nothing bad actually happened. The internal load lifted faster than expected. Now, that lived experience is the lesson. You're not trying to convince yourself you're safe. You're letting your system discover it. And step number 6, stay with one change long enough to learn. Now, one moment of release won't rewire anything, but consistency will. So for the rest of the week, work with the same leak. Practice the same small release. Let repetition do the teaching. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is reliability, because reliability builds trust, and trust reduces load. So why does this practice work? Well, it works because it respects biology, it avoids overwhelm, replaces fear with lived evidence, it builds capacity gradually instead of forcing change. Now, this practice doesn't make you less caring, it makes your care sustainable. Because when energy leaks are reduced, your focus improves, your emotional availability increases, your boundaries hold much easier, your self-trust, it strengthens. You don't become colder, you become clearer about what's yours to carry and what isn't. And when you do this, when you put even one piece of invisible weight down, something subtle but powerful happens. Your nervous system begins to trust you again. And when the trust returns, energy does too. You're not exhausted because you're weak. You're exhausted because you've been carrying invisible weight for a long time. And once you start putting that weight down, slowly, intentionally, something shifts. Your nervous system gets the message. I don't have to manage everything to be safe. And when that message lands, energy returns, clarity sharpens, and rest actually works again. All right, so if this episode helped you to recognize an energy leak that you haven't named before, please share it with someone who's been quietly carrying too much. And don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe so you don't miss the next episode in this integration series. So remember, it is what it is, but it becomes what you make it. So make it great. Thanks for tuning in. Before we wrap up, I just want to remind you that the information shared in this podcast is for educational and informational purposes only. It is not intended as a substitute for professional advice or treatment. While the content of this podcast is based on research and personal experience, everyone's situation is unique, and the advice given may not be applicable to all. Always consult a qualified professional before making significant changes in your life. The Personal Mastery and Growth podcast is recorded at the So Good Media Studios located in the Candy Factory, a co-working space in Lancaster, Pennsylvania.